Hello, welcome to Flory Models Kit View Time. Today we've got Kitty Hawk's new 1/32 scale F-5E Tiger Shark. Now this is the E version, which means it's the single seat. The F is the two-seat version, and let's face it, we've been after a new one of these for years. Looking back, Hasegawa, I think that's the only one. That's raised panel lines. I think it's from the 80s. Again, it's a nice kit. It's very basic, but it is a nice kit. But it is raised panel lines in this day and age, really. I think the level of detail on it is a little bit lacking. So it's really nice we see this iconic, I have to say, much overlooked aircraft. And as a real aircraft buff, I've got a real soft spot for this particular aircraft. Obviously, we all think, you know, back MiG-28s, things like that from Top Gun. Obviously there are F-5s used in those and stuff like that. But it was almost like that aircraft that never really was. Obviously it was exported and it was sold around the world, things like that. But from the US point of view as a light attack aircraft, it never really got anywhere. As an aggressor though, let's face it, you know, the VFC-12 Saints, things like that, flying these things, absolutely legendary aircraft, and actually I think it's been really overlooked. So it's nice to see that Kitty Hawk stepped up and brought us out a new tooled, recessed, very nicely detailed model of this particular one. So looking around on the box, we can see some nice box art with a pair of them in formation just like that. It does say it's got a little bit of photo etch in there as well, which is very nice and very welcome. So as we can see, as we thought we did, we've got some of the Saints markings down in there. So VFC 111 with the very famous sort of sundowner markings on there like that. And again, we've got some of the sort of Iranian ones, as we can see down in here, and different countries from around the world. As I said, as an export aircraft, there's lots of it. Another nice touch with this particular kit is obviously got a seated pilot and a standing figure as well, which is a very nice touch with it. And as you can see down on there, we've got your kit number for this one. It's 32018. Okay, and then we have a shimmy down in the box. We can see. I'm just looking for my knife because I need that in a second. There we go. So we've got a little bit of box. So we're assuming that'll be your clear parts in there. We've got your instructions, which is a nice touch. Okay, so looking through the instructions, usual call out. So we've got some of the things down in there. Nice to see we've got resin nozzles as well. Nice little touch down in here. Sprue parts, usual thing going through here. So we're starting off with the seat. So we've got a multi-part seat down in there, and then obviously we've got the instrument panels and obviously the flight deck, things like that going along, which is going to be absolutely lovely. And then we've got all this workings above and behind the actual pilot's seat. It's got a very, I would say, overcomplicated, but I'm sure it's not, but it certainly looks it. Electronics bay and the mechanism for the actual canopy close system. So that's been beautifully sort of, you know, reproduced down here on the back here. That's why it's quite a lot of it's going down in here. Then we've got the coaming there for the top of the instrument panel being fitted down into the tub. And then, as you might imagine, down on the front here, we've got quite a lot going on. So we've got the nose wheel section going down in there with the nose wheel bay, as well as the two gun and gun areas that are going to go each side of that as well. So there's a lot going around in that nose section, as we know. Then we've got a separate forward fuselage, which we're expecting for this because they do the F version as well. So obviously the two-seat version's coming along, and then obviously putting these together. So we've got sidewall details going in. Again, a few more lumps and bumps going down in there for this mechanism for the canopy, and then that forward gun nose wheel area being fitted down into the forward fuselage. We don't get really much in the way of a radar. It's a very simple radar on this one, but don't forget it's got quite a simple radar on it in all fairness to it. So that one's being fitted down in there, but you do have an option of the noses as well. So just keep an eye out for which actual nose you're going to use with this one. I'm assuming one is the aggressor version, and it doesn't actually come with a gun, which if I remember rightly, it's something to do with the Swedish version as well, how they were brought in. I think there's various things online you can find about it. But anyway, different types of those going down there and being fitted in there just like that. Canopy set as well, as we said, it's got quite a complex canopy lift area on this one. That's all being fitted in. You're probably going to do that later on than now, and then working down onto this one, you've got it for the different ones for the actual doors on there. A little bit of photo etch, as we were saying, to adding some more detail for these gun areas at the front. Then we're into the engine, so we've got full detail, full-size engines as well for those being fitted in. Again, some nice photo etch parts in there as well. Okay. Then we're into the wheel well section, so we've got the wheel well, main wheel wells, those being fitted down into the lower part of the main fuselage. Okay, and then the top half going in there, putting them down in there together. Louver doors open or closed. Obviously I think it's only literally at startup the louver doors are open on these things to get a little bit more air down in there during startup. Okay, so I don't think naturally you'd have those all the time. Intakes being fitted onto that one, and then we got different ways of doing these exhausts. You can either go straight just with the resin ones, or you can actually use the plastic ones that are in the kit as well. So a little bit of an option down in there. Markings we'll have a look at afterwards. Okay, lots of different markings options. Then into the wings, so we're sandwiching in the wings, putting them in there. So we've got the actuators and everything for the actual main gear, and then obviously we've got posable flaps and ailerons being fitted on, and slats at the front, which is another nice touch. Okay, and then generally mirror for the other side. Tailplane being fitted down in there. We've got a posable rudder by the looks of it, and then the actual horizontal stabilizers at the back, and wings being fitted down in there like that. Plethora of lumps and bumps, as you might imagine, and we've got the landing lights being fitted down in there, geared doors, as you can imagine, going through this one. Types of sidewinders, so we've got the old-fashioned B and the newer E sidewinder heads, depending on which version you want to do with those ones. We've got a couple of different types of fuel tank as well being fitted in. Again, very nice indeed. Clusters, so we've got some Mark 20 clusters down there, and your standard sort of, you know, Mark 84 with the extended fuse or normal fuse on those ones. Pylons being fitted in there, as you might imagine. And actually we got some Sparrow missiles in there as well for the AIM-9. Again, a little bit of a call out of where you can fit all of those down onto it, which is a nice touch. And then you'll end up with something like this. Markings, as we said, pretty much lots of. So down in here we've got the colour call outs for the pylons and weapons, as you might imagine, and the fuel tanks. And we've got various markings down in here. So again, nice touch with this one, with the actual Brazilian Air Force markings. Very nice indeed with that one. And then just popping back to the others, as I say, we've got the all famous 111 VFC 111 with the Saints markings down in here, with the very nice rising sun on the back with the shark's mouth. Very iconic, been done to death, but I'd still do it again, although I must admit I do quite fancy it in Splinter. Okay, so that's those ones. Then we've got the slightly smaller one with the actual desert known as Lizard down in there like that. And then again, we're working our way around all of these ones. So we've got the Korean one, which is nice touch as well, with the Korean markings down in there. And then, I'll say a little bit all over the place doing these, I do apologise. We've got the Iranian Air Force F-5s as well, so that's those. And then down in here, we've actually got the Mexican one. Get this one out. There we go. So this is your Mexican offering down in here. Again, really nice touch. And last but not least, we've got a couple of Air Force ones, which are very nice as well. So we've got the standard sort of US markings on that one down in there, with the triple greens, so that's sort of Southeast Asia, or, which actually I really like this one, something a little bit different in natural metal finish, with the high vis yellow markings on there as well, which is actually operationed in Somalia, which I'm thinking they've done a little bit here, because it's saying about it's an AH-6J operational in Somalia, which I'm thinking that's something, because I've just built that kit and it wasn't an F5, that would have been a helicopter. So congratulations again, Kitty Hawk, you never failed to amaze me. Anyway, right, so let's have a look for the decals. Where's the decals? I want to find the decals. We've got bagfuls in here. Now, the reason I want to mention the decals is a very good friend of ours here at Flory Models, our very own John Wilkes, has built this one for a magazine. And as he's pointed out to me, a few little things just to watch out for if you're building this one. Mainly, Kitty Hawk have done that old trumpeter faithful thing. Down here, as you can see, we've got the rising sun tail markings from VFC 111, okay? Now, as you might notice down in here, we have the AF is absolutely fine. Over here, they've mirrored it, so the AF is back to front, which is a little bit of a pain, because if you wanted to actually use these markings, you're not going to get rid of that in a hurry. So you've got a couple of options: cut it out, paint it, and all the rest of it. But, and I've got to try and find them now, down on here, there we are, we have them as singulars as well. So if you wanted to, you could overpaint those areas, and then we've got them as singles, or you can do what John's done, and he's used the rear parts from the actual decals with those on there to get around the problem. Okay, so there is, you know, a little bit of a walk around to it. It's just very annoying that they have done the old flip it to save time routine, and then it's come out and bit them on the bum. Apart from that, the decals, as you can see, a numerous sheet, some very nice stuff going down on there. Actually, that's very nice indeed. And then down in here, we've got instrument panel for the decal down in there. Looks okay. Some side ones and some of the others on there. Again, weapon and pylon markings. To be honest, they all look very, very nice indeed. A couple of bits of photo etch. So we've got these tiny little brackets down in here, which I assume are the angle of attack sensors. Okay, and we've got some of these other bits down in here with harnesses, grills, rear view mirrors, some stuff that's going to wrap around the engine, those types of things on there. Again, they're very, very nice indeed. So actually, that's not too bad at all. Whilst we've got it here, let's change it out, because we always do the glass work, but we'll do the glass first. So, I thought I was close to the edge. Okay, that's it. So actually, really nice. Got a little bit of distortion down here in the middle on the front one, which is a little bit, as you can see, wayward all over that. The main one has got a little bit, but not as much as the front one. So it's a little bit unfortunate. That front one, as you can see, is a little bit yucky. Okay, so unfortunately, you're not going to be able to hide that too well. In fact, I'm not even sure. It looks like it's in layers as it goes across. But unfortunately, that's horrible. Don't like that at all. Not for something as simple as just recreating that. Okay, it's not a massively over-complexed part to try and mould. But it is nice that it is separate box, keeping it nice and safe, tucked out of the way, just down in there. Right, parts. So, in no particular order, just as fast as I can get them out of the bag. We can see, got a little bit of flash here and there on this one. This is sprue B. So looking around in here, we have got a little bit of flash on things. I'm looking for sink marks and the usual suspects, not too much. Just a little bit of flash, but it doesn't seem to be on the parts. And actually, that doesn't look too bad at all. Definitely the surface detail is getting sharper, crisper, and more in scale. It's not as heavy as it used to be. Anyway, let's have a close look round. So as we can see down on there, we've got various things in there for the wheel wells, instrument coamings, we've got the gun magazines, side areas for down in the cockpit, over the top of the nose down there. The instrument panel, actually, that's really nice. You know, a couple of options with that. I'll just stick the decal right over it and let it push down and in, or you could actually hand paint that in. So actually nice tub. The tub is, again, looks very nicely done. Yeah, it's quite basic, there's not much going on in there. Ammunition feeds, size of the nose, again, a little bit of flash just running down the back here, you can probably see it. But generally, that's not too bad at all. Okay. Moving around on the other side, we've got the cockpit halves and the floor. Again, that's not looking too bad. Sides, this is the gun base sides on the internals. If you've got it all opened up, that doesn't look too bad at all. And then we've got that other side with the vents, details. Yeah, that actually looks really, really nice, no problem at all. One of the noses, so again, different types of noses. You've got the more platypus type nose, or you've got the pointy nose on there again. Again, when you're looking down here, it looks like there's stress marks in the plastic, but actually I just think that's coloration more than anything else, because it doesn't look too bad. On the flip side, we've got a few little pronounced ejector pins in amongst all of this, but actually none of that looks too bad at all. Everything else is recessed, tucked out of the way, no problems. The gates are all very nice and fine. And again, some nice touches, these internal details you can see down in here. We don't have any ejector pins in there at all. We are really starting to get our act together now, which is very nice, Kitty Hawk. We're liking this. That is special. We'll look at that in a moment. Okay, so down in here we've got the main fuselage. We have got a couple of loose parts floating around in here, so we'll just be a little bit careful. That is one of the blow-in closed louver doors, so we're not worried about that. We'll keep that safe in there. Okay, and again, giving you an idea of the size of this bird, it's not small when you've got the fuselage rear part like that. But again, these holes are for those blow-in sort of louver doors, the auxiliary doors for the engines during startup. Actually, very nice. And again, actually, that's very nice. I'm assuming that's the only thing that is worrying me. Yeah, oh dear, Kitty Hawk, stop it. Okay, we've got a huge seam from the mould. Obviously, it's a multi-part injection to injection the side and the top and everything. It is a complete, a complicated piece to mould, but that, if you can see it, this is one of those. Mine is not showing very well on camera. Trust me, this is a horrible seam line on the side. Come on, camera, play ball. See, the camera's not actually doing this justice, but there is quite a nasty step, if I put my finger out, this is me pushing. You can see it there now, all the way across and down to here, and it's running down the back as well. So unfortunately, that's not nice. That's going to take a little bit of work, and unfortunately when you do that little bit of work, there's a lot of very fine riveting detail just down in here that unfortunately is going to pay a price for that mistake. This side is not as heavy, but it has still got one nevertheless, which is running exactly the same on the other side right the way down. And in fact, it's quite pronounced on this side, more at the bottom than this on this side. So unfortunately, that's not nice. A little bit horrible there. On the plus side though, looking down on this detail, you can see some very nice stuff for the inside of the wheel wells, things like that going on here, inside the dive brake areas, louver doors in the blown open position looking very nice, and some of these other ones down the back here, a couple of little sink marks on the arrestor hook area at the back. But yeah, it's a shame because actually this is actually turning into a very nice kit. That's the first big sort of oh god moment. And again, not looking too bad obviously in the inside, everything's flush, everything's clean, and again nice touch even inside the doors. Got a couple of little ones on the speed brakes. We've got 2 ejector pin marks just in there, which I would have not liked to see, and again we would have preferred not to see ejector pins on the intake, but those actually shouldn't be too much of a problem just to fill and smooth out. But my main concern is this. That's horrible. You can probably see it there. Look, there it is, running right the way through, right the way to the end. It's a real shame that. Never mind. Never mind. Okay, so running down, we've got big old fuel tanks, as you can see down on here, the pylons for those, sidebars, the other, the actual fins for the tank, huge sway braces for the tank as well. Okay, and then over on here we can see we've got the tail fin. Again, nice detail. You can probably see the riveting detail just popping through on those. Some nice stuff for the wheel wells. We've got the main gear and everything else on these. Actually, that's actually looking very nice indeed. Flipping over again. That's actually pretty good on all of those. It looks big and chunky, but actually it's all right. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so we've got a match pair down in here. So what we've got in here is your engine, seats, and some of the weapons, as you might imagine. So down here on sprue F, we've got the engines obviously up here and the various parts of them, other slip tanks, and then obviously we've got seating down in here. Huge, it looks huge in 70 seconds, doesn't it? Sparrow missile and the Mark 84s. Again, actually very nice indeed. So quick look around, Mark 84s, AIM 7, Sparrow. Nice to see we've got weight on wheels as well, and they're quite nicely detailed on the inside. So we've got some, looks like sort of Dunlop or Goodyear tyres on these. You can see actually trademarked as well. Some of the seat details, no problem with that. Some of that engine detail and working up through the pylons, the fuel tanks, the Mark 20 clusters, and then we've got the other engine part on there, and the different types of sidewinder nose as well, which is a nice touch with those. So yeah, we're okay. So you've got some big ejector pins in here, but these all come out the way with any luck. Got some in there, we've got one in the seat as well, which is a bit gnarly. But everything else, not too bad at all. Okay, now we've got the wings. Okay, so wing detail. As I say, it always looks a little bit funny when you see them and they haven't got the slaps, flats and ailerons on them, but some very nice surface detail on those wings. Really nice indeed. If we get in the close-up, you can see all that gorgeous detail on those wings. That's actually looking very nice indeed. And on the other side, looking good. And down in these, again, really nice on the underside. Good attention to detail on all of these. It's going to be a fantastic kit when it's built up. And down on the inside, good strong locating areas. We've got some nice details down in here as well, in tops of the wing wells, bottoms of the flaps, things like that. A little bit of bearing on the main gear, but actually that's not too bad at all. We really do like that. Some nice touches there. Okay, last up we've got this, which I'm hoping I can just get into, or is it glued? Oh, so look, trying to be nice and show them all in one. Okay, so down in here we can see our seated pilot, who's Clearly enjoying his flight. Okay, so he's got good, nice details with the oxygen masks, with the helmet. Obviously resin figure with his full-size chute on the back as well, which is a nice touch. Very, very nice indeed. That's very good. And then we've got him standing. So we have the standing figure as well. Beautifully done. Really very nice. Very nice job on that one. Very good. And then last up we've got these nozzles. So these are your optional resin nozzles. I don't know actually. I might be missing the boat here, but these don't look as nice as the kit ones. They're very nice, don't get me wrong, and obviously you've got beautiful detail on the inside, but this external detail with the riveting does look like a bit of an afterthought. I think the plastic ones might be nicer. And I know I was speaking to John. John was saying this as well, saying maybe next time he'll do the plastic ones instead of the resin ones, because although they're very nice and seamless and beautifully done on the inside, yeah, the outside's just lacking a little bit in the sharpness that perhaps you would want from a resin part per se. Okay, so that's really very nice. And good packaging with those as well to keep those safe and stop those being knocked around just like that. So close. So close. That centre seam on the fuselage is going to bug me because it's going to take a little bit of work to get rid of it. It's not going to be, you know, a massive job. It's just you're going to have to do a little bit of repair job after you've done it, sand, polish, and then actually make good afterwards. A little bit of rescribing perhaps, a little bit of re-riveting, and you'll be fine. It's just annoying that it's that far out. This isn't just one of those where you could just lightly sand and get rid of it. This is going to take some proper sanding, blend it out, and then polish it up again to make the plastic good. And then in that time, you've probably damaged a little bit of detail around it. So you're going to have to go in and fix that as well, which is a little bit off. Don't like the windscreen either. It'd be really nice if that was a proper nice, like we've seen before. For some reason, it's a bit like a louver door that's been shut right the way across it. So I'm not exactly happy with that one either. So that's 2 points that really against it. What I do like for it though, surface detail on the entire aircraft looks absolutely fantastic, no problem at all. Other thing I don't particularly like about it though, thinking about it, is obviously it's nothing in the intakes. There's nothing behind them. They're just hollow right the way through. So you've got that first bit with a couple of ejector pins that you need to take care of, and then into nothing. So FOD covers I'm thinking with this one just to make it look good. And also the thing is you're putting the full-size engine in there with no real way of opening them up to see them in there. So it's not like you can drop down some doors underneath or perhaps remove a cover to display the engine. So you've got some nice engine detail in there that you're never going to see. So again, that's always a little bit of bugbear of me as well. But apart from that, really nice stuff. Just be mindful though, those decals are the wrong way round, so you're either going to go down an aftermarket route or you're going to have to play with it a little bit just to make those good. So if you're thinking, right, we're going to do it in BFC 111, no problem. Just be mindful that AF is back to front and it does stand out like a sore thumb, and your friends will be the first one to point that one out if you put it on without it. Okay, so just have a think about your best way of actually repairing that one or totally getting rid of it and things like that. But obviously you could certainly go in there with a different marking and things like that, but it said the aftermarket people are all over this one if you needed to. It's just a bit unfortunate they didn't pick that one up making their way through the entire thing. Apart from that though, as a real F5 fan, I do like it. It is really nice, and it'd be nice when the F-5E comes along as well, having the two-seat version as well, because that's another really nice aircraft, and it still wouldn't put me off. Even with those errors going right the way through it, I would still build it because it still looks an absolutely fantastic aircraft. So there we go. That is Kitty Hawk's brand new 132nd F-5E Tiger II.